I am live, but I'm not really live because I set it on private just because I just want to read this real quick. A book I'm reading, The Mark of America, Seed of the Beast. Revelation Unfolded by Christopher. Guy doesn't even give his last name because he wants to protect his identity. I'm on chapter 5 called The Mark, and I found it very profoundly interesting. It says, as humans attempt to exert themselves in discovering self-worth, they experience feelings, then develop attitudes, and then make choices of action. Listen carefully. These actions, gestures, and other outward signs are how they define themselves as individuals in comparison to others. Other people is what it's talking about. Likewise, humans define each other based on their own feelings and attitudes, whether or not the definition lends to a positive or negative impression. The overwhelming evidence of who a person is or what one has become remains long after he or she no longer exists among those who were affected by his or her existence. When a standard of human prominence or excellence is conceived or envisioned and accepted by a group of individuals, all others are measured by this standard. The group with the greatest physical strength and power sets the standard by which it expects all others to abide. If others do not live up to this level of quality accepted as the norm, they are branded as, quote, substandard, unquote, and perceived as a threat to the view of the strongest. Think about this. Here we go. The strongest group is not necessarily the largest or majority, or correct in my book. The longest or largest or majority. It is merely the one that has the means of force available to subjugate all others to its standard. Humans create and raise flags as symbols of their standards, and by means of war protect the flag upon which their standard is based. Judicial systems of law are created to protect the level of human behavior expected when one lives under the auspices of these flags and the governments that protect them. Force is used to take away free will of the individual who lives contrary to the substandard, to the measure set by those who have the physical means to take away life or liberty. Take away life or liberty. These systems of law generally do more to protect the image of the established measure than they do to protect the citizens' individual rights to become who and what they desire to become by use of their own free choice. When this is the precedent and purpose of law, these laws are enforced by the threat of loss of life or liberty. The natural human is in a constant state of rebellion. Isn't that the truth? I feel it. This is because it is predisposed to set itself apart from others as an individual. When the standard is forced upon them, humans are thrown out of balance, experiencing unhappiness because they do not feel their self-worth is validated by those attempting to force them to be someone or something they are not. When a standard has been set, a person must both support the standard and conform personal desires, attitudes, feelings, and gestures to the standard or mark that is set. They must conform to the mark, or else be known as nonconformist or criminal outside of the law. People are either known and remembered for how well they conform to the accepted standards or for rebelling against them. Therefore, By our actions, gestures, and outward signs, we fulfill the need to be valued as an individual by leaving our mark upon the society in which we live. Yet when a human is not being true to themselves, it, as is its natural tendency, a lasting happiness can never be achieved. Humans experience temporary satisfaction until they realize they are no longer individuals, but only a part of a whole. If one cannot gain a sense of self-worth by conforming to the laws of the whole and the accepted standard upon which they are predicated, then the natural tendency is to develop this self-recognition and worth by becoming an outlaw or a revolutionist, determined to promote change or set a different standard. If the revolutionary movement develops strength and becomes physically stronger than the group that set the old standard, then the former flag is thrown down and another is raised in its place, setting a new standard that will also be enforced. Vicious cycle that it is. Vicious cycle. Are we part of the group as a whole? I'm not going to say what my thought is on that. Just let you ponder this. Bear in mind, this is the same author that not wrote the story, but told the story of Ugg and Thug that I had read before. Interesting book. The Mark of America, Seat of the Beast. Revelation Unfolded. He does go into Revelation scripture later on in the book, but for right now he is establishing an understanding of people in the world today. There's a lot more to the rest of this chapter about the mark. The mark. It has other chapters that talk about, let's see, the corruption of man, the dragon, the beast, the image. Then there's the mark. Then I will read into the wrath of God, the patience of the saints, a sharp two-edged swords, the end of times, and Revelation Unfolded. Very interesting. All right. I'm just going to end with this, some of the Revelation scriptures that he has posted in the beginning of the book. Revelation 13:18, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. And that's my cue to sign off. Love y'all.